You're all very welcome. There's a great crowd here tonight, and it's wonderful to see so many people participating in what I think will be a really interesting talk. And of course, it's given by our own Shane Wilson, who is the Director of Internet Services and the go-to man when we have problems online. He's also very accessible when it comes to making inquiries about different things, and it can be guaranteed to give a very comprehensive and clear answer for all our queries. So I'm really keen to hear what he has to say tonight about two developments. One is the website genealogy.ie, and the other is the access to the census, because there have been changes to both in the last 12 months, some of them good and some of them maybe not so good. So let's hear what Shane has to say about that. Thank you very much, Shane. We'll have a few questions after your talk. So let's go.
Thank you very much. There we have the introduction, just to show it's basically about Irish genealogy research online recent updates. And our next slide will tell you basically what John was just saying. The two key websites that nearly everybody uses as part of some part of their search, unless you're jumping in way back. irishgenealogy.ie, which has the key parts of it are civil birth, marriage, and death records, and a selection. Sorry, there's just two people in the waiting room. I'll let in. A selection of church records. I'll come into the coverage of that later on, because that kicks in with the update as well. The other item is the National Archives of Ireland, which basically the records we're interested in and that they've done the update for are the 1901 and 1911 census. It links in, but they haven't changed much on them yet, to the early 19th century census fragments. The recent updates, oh, sorry, another person in the waiting room there. The recent updates carried out to both of these systems, and mostly to do with the user interface without much effect on the underlying data. Civil BMD records, which is basically birth, marriages, and deaths, sorry. The births that are online at the moment cover 1864 to 1924. They will incrementally add on to that year by year. Marriages, there's non-Catholic marriages from 45 to 63. Marriages and births should be complete. And then the remaining marriages for Catholics and everybody else from 1864 to 1949 at the moment. Deaths, there's been a little bit of a change. At the moment, they cover sort of the index transcripts and register images from 1871 to 1974. There was previously index records for the previous years, so 64 to 70. They seem to have vanished. They're on there somewhere, but they seem to have broken the link. You can still get at these in sort of an indication of the index record in other collections, which I'll show you about later on. The records on Irish genealogy in general cover all of Ireland up to the end of 1921. So all 32 counties and just the 26 counties after that. You'll need to go to GRO, NI Direct for their coverage afterwards. They follow a similar 175-50 rule, which is sort of standard EU and UK. Next bit. The other main section of Irish genealogy, this is all unchanged. This, other than that difference with the deaths, that's all carried forward from the previous system. There's a selection of church records on Irish genealogy, again, carried forward without any discernible change. The records cover from most of the Catholic parishes in Dublin City, excluding St. Paul's, which they don't make clear on the website, plus some County Dublin Catholic parishes. I'll show you a bit, there's a map of that comes up later on. There's also the surviving Dublin City Church of Ireland parish records, again, plus some parishes for South County Dublin. There's Catholic parishes for the Diocese of Kerry, which covers counties Cork and Kerry, and the Diocese of Cork and Ross, which is southwest Cork, sort of Cork City to the west. They also cover Church of Ireland records for County Kerry, big number of parishes, and a number of parishes in County Carlow. The thing that changed for a lot of people, sorry, somebody else in the waiting room, that changed for a lot of people is if you had saved any links from the previous site. So that's a link either to the, I'm going to call it an index record. It's their own version of an index record, which had a group ID number instead of the usual volume and page. The link, if you saved a link to that before, it won't work anymore because the old system was basically retired and vanished. I don't know whether they deleted it. So if you saved a link to that, or you saved a link to the register, that's gone as well. So if you made a note of Mary Byrne, such a district, such a year, or such a year and quarter, you can find them again, but your links will no longer work. They also seem to have lost a feature on the church records. So if you went in, if there was a register image available, there isn't always, and you got to see the register, there was a previous next link up at the top. They have vanished. You can do it manually. I've been trying to create a tool to help you do that, but at the moment, their tool has vanished for doing that automatically. The complication with it is the style of links changes between the different parishes, so it's complex. Nearly a job for AI, but we'll leave that there. So there are some of the examples. You can see that's an old style link to a record, and that's a same record in a new format. And you can see the last little bit of it is the same. Now, I don't know if that might help in the generation of a tool to allow translation of an old URL to a new URL. The image link has a little bit, no, there's nothing, actually, there's nothing of the same number in there at all. So translation of that is, I don't know whether that's even going to be possible. Now on to actually doing some searches. So that's the new screen. The first thing I'll say with it is avoid complications and skip the all records thing. That only messes things up. Most of this sort of works. There's a little bits of it are a tiny bit flaky is the only word I can come up with. So stick to one or the other. So civil records, let's start with. The other thing is you have to pick a record type. So I'm going to go with births first of all. Where are we on? Let's go down here. Make sure everybody's in. So first bit, we'll do a combined. So we'll do Thomas, and we're just going to go wildcard at the same time. And we're going to go Hogan. And we're going to say we're looking for births. And we're going to go 1864 to 1880. Oh, yeah, well, it'd help if I do 18 on there, wouldn't it? And sometimes it asks you to sign in. Now, maybe because I've been on this a lot, not shown anybody.
Shane, your date is wrong there. 1884 you have.
Oh, 1864. Thank you. So first thing to watch when you do this sort of splits into two sections. I would stick to one section at a time. You either do things on the top or you do things underneath. So if you go down to this, first thing I would keep an eye on is this result count. If things start to go crazy, that result count will go mad. It'll go 100,000 or whatever. So keep an eye on that as you do each step. If anything goes wrong, do I don't know if you've seen that, the back a step on your browser. So I'm going to hit sort by date. I don't know what meaning it decides for relevance. You know, unless it's specific, relevance doesn't mean anything to me on a basic search like this. So the first thing I've also hit 100. We've still captured 527. So you will see, as well as Hogan, It's come up with Horan, Logan, as well as Hogan's. It hasn't stuck exactly. It's also gone Hagen down there. So it's using a sort of a sound X, I think. It's not very specific. We'll hit exact name on just for fun. But it hasn't given anybody. Wasn't expecting that. Anyway, glitch number one. We go back to sort by date and 100. You will also see, just to show you going back in, that's what I'm referring to as the index screen. So we have a group registration ID is the new, instead of a volume and page number. And because it's before 1877, you don't get a year quarter, you just get a year. You will have your record image with the important bits at the top. The SRD, which is Superintendent Registrar's District. I call that a registration district most of the time. Registrar's District, I call that a sub-district, usually for simplicity. And the other definition of which might be a dispensary district. The other definition for an SRD would be a poor law union. So we can close that. From here, I would always go back a step and make sure you're sticking to your result count. I'm going to revise our dates here. You'll see why in a second. 1889 to 1910. And by date. Oh, sorry, we'll hit 100 again. See with smaller 717. You see it's coming up with some strange, what it thinks are variants. Coogan. I'm just going to try that exact match only again. That's not working now at all. That was working before.
I
So
think the
anyway,
exact match isn't working, Shane, because you've put a wild card in for the first name.
all
I
right.
think
So
so.
that kills it. All right.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's try. Well spotted. Didn't know that. So it treats the exact match on both of them. Well, there you go. Now there's the other one we were trying to see. Well, that one's not a good example. I was going to say, if you put in a surname like that, it also searches under the mother's maiden surname if it's entered. Now, as it happens, that one's 1909, so it has a mother's surname. That's probably an illegitimate birth, so that's probably there's no where is it? There, isn't it? Rotunda Hospital. Yeah, there's no father. And we go back to the original. But I didn't realize that with the exact match. I tend to what it is good with there on that is if you do things like you're allowed to do things like that. We could do that. So we could have a wild card in the first name and a wild card in the second. And you'll see what happens with the at. You will get Pat. I'm going to do sort by date again. You will get anything. Now that's the one I use that for a lot. You will get Catherine's and Kate's if you do that kind of thing. Now you'll see the surname there on some of them is not anywhere near Hogan, it's Hartigan, but it's the right sort of idea. The other thing with the surname variants, it comes up with things like you saw with Hogan there, it seems to be sort of a sound X because it comes up with Hagen and Rogan. Other ones that are obvious is it'll come up with Smith, and it'll come up Smith with the Y. Hang on, we'll just do SMITH. This is without wildcards and without the exact match. We probably, I don't know whether we'll see any Smiths, but it does do both. There's a Smith and a Smith together. McGowan comes up with Gowan and McGowan. Kelly comes up with Keeley and Kylie. So they all sort of work. And the other one it can be good with is if you use wildcards, is if you do McCon, it'll do McConnell, Connell, and hang on, I'm going to go by date and just show more of them. Sorry, I'm just doing sort by date and 100 for a lot of these. McConnell, it'll give, of course, it's giving all McConnells here. There's, yeah, they're all McConnells, of course. The time range update, but it'll come up with anything that begins with a Mac. That's the other thing. On some of the indexes, you have spaces and various things on Mac names. They seem to be sort of standardized, but the wildcards will cope with any of those. It has come up with some strange variants on first names. I saw, where was it? I've noted them here. For Ellen, it came up with Alan as a variant, which is a bit, I think it might be sort of a sound X. Ellen. See what it comes up with here. They're all Ellens. But it came up with Alan as a variation for Ellen for me on one particular date range. The other thing is when you put in a surname like that, or any of those, it will search for, let me just see, I have an example here. Where are we going? It will come up with, well, there's the first one. That's probably illegitimate. But the reason for that is the same surname for the mother as the child. But it'll search both fields. So you will sometimes see names there in the results where the child is a different surname. And there is an option there for searching the parent on births, but it searches it anyway. So I'm not sure what the difference with that is. The other sort of area where there is definitely a glitch is if you look down on the left-hand side, now you'll see we've gone to 1,000+ results. We've lost the system there. It's gone, or maybe because we've done such a generic search. Hang on, we'll do Patrick Kiley. We'll narrow it down a bit. Right, we have a proper number. It'll give you a breakdown of the different poor law unions or SRDs that the births come from. If you look through it, it's worth trying to be familiar with those, especially in the area that you're with, because there are some oddities, which I'll come to in a second. But you will see some of these not applicable. Now, I haven't been able to find any of those with actual images. You get this lark coming up on them. So I don't know what to mean. You could check for those on the other versions of the index to try and see what they are. But that's a strange one. I don't remember seeing those on the previous system. This is where you have to watch. If you hit all districts, you sometimes lose your search. Now that seems to be okay. Yeah, that's why you have to watch the search results. If that goes wrong, just go back a couple of steps on your browser. But you can narrow down by the poor law union. So you want all the ones in North County Dublin, you could hit Balrotherry and it will show them. And that seems to work correctly. There is an issue with those. I'll just show you a few of those. These are the ones I've come up with that appear as registration districts that aren't. But you have to, it's worth trying to be familiar with those, because if you can see some of those and not spot them as you're doing a search. But the list there is what they come up on Irish genealogy. Some of them are sub-districts and some of them are counties, and I don't know why the other ones are there at all. But I mean, you see, Ahada is a dispensary district in Middleton. One that I've looked into is Donnybrook, which is a sub-district of Dublin South. And the reason for that one, I think, is the bit at the top of the page where it mentions the SRD and the dispensary district hasn't been filled out. So the only line they have is the dispensary district and the county, and somebody just took it literally and put that in. The same for Dundrum, it's part of Rathdown. That's the Dundrum in County Dublin. You see other ones that it's the county, and there's a strange one there if I can find it. Where's it gone? Well, there's Portlaoise. Oh, sorry, it's gone back one. There's a Portlaoise, which is not the name of the town at the time. And there's also, oh yeah, sorry, there it is. Offaly, again, sorry, it doesn't let me click on it. Offaly, which again wasn't the name of either the county or a registration district. Most of them are Parsonstown. You see others that are North Tipperary, which is probably North Riding is what it's trying to refer to. Others, you see them there anyway. I have a handout which I will endeavour to jump in chat, which includes that. That's the basis of that. The wrinkles with it mean you have to be careful, basically. These are some of the other ones. Baileyborough can appear as Baileyborough. There's the Borough Parsonstown one and some Offaly. The name of the town was Parsonstown from 1620, I think, to 1899. So the name, and Offaly didn't become, Kings County wasn't renamed Offaly on Pink until the 20s. I could be corrected on that, but certainly wasn't in 1845, where I have seen Offaly. There's a mix of Derry, Londonderry. Same with Irvinstown, Lower Thurstown. Swinford, I have seen some with Swinford with an E, but I couldn't find them recently. Again, Tubbercurry spelled both ways. And I showed you some of the non-applicable ones. I can't find what they relate to. The next bit is search records. Sorry, over here. So we go back to this other form and we'll kick it off from scratch and we'll select church records. And again, you should pick a type of record and hit them all. And if we look for, I'm going to look for a Joseph O'Mara. You see, I've searched for him, this guy before. And we leave out the location for a minute. Oh, sorry, I skipped a bit on I'll come back to it with the civil records, an important bit. There's a couple of wrinkles with this, and the first one actually shows us one. You look over to the left for him. I'll show you this record first of all. That's the usual. We would get a record image and a transcript. Depending, the level of detail depends on the parish and the date. But if we go over to the left here, you will see a summary of a breakdown of the areas that are represented in the results. So if I open Dublin Catholic, you won't see, the first record there was St. Mary's Pro Cathedral. You won't find that on the list to the left. That's the first wrinkle. You see all these other parishes, but no mention of the Pro Cathedral, even though it's technically not the Pro Cathedral anymore, it's the cathedral. There isn't really a workaround for that. You can click on any of the other ones, but it's one thing to watch. There can be omissions in the parish list to the left. And you can't filter easily by the Pro Cathedral. There seems to be a complication with that. I'm wondering if it might be to do with the comma. You can filter by the other ones. So if you hit Bornabrina, you will get all the Bornabrina records correctly. If you then go back to all areas, you should go back to your general search, and most of the others should work with the breakdown by parish. So St. Michan 1930. Now you see that's gone wrong again. We're not just seeing St. Michan's there, we're seeing others. That's the main glitch in this one. We have the same things with so if we put in Ryan there instead, you'll see. We would get other records based on the content. It's searching the other fields in the records, not just, sorry, I meant to go date and that. So we'd see there's a burn. There's no, oh, there's a Ryan there. Now, I don't know why that's come up matched to Ryan. Oh, there, one of the witnesses is Ryan. So it searched everything. It searched the husband, the wife, and one of the witnesses. So it's something to be careful of. So there, even though there's field down here that's supposed to do things like witnesses and sponsors and parents and spouse and all that, it's searching everything on the transcript as far as I can see, which is not what it claims to do. Sorry, I go back to the civil records for a second because I missed a bit. And that is if you're doing, I'm looking for Ryan, I'm going to be a little bit helpful and do a James Ryan. Now, a lot of the time it asks you to sign in for civil records, but maybe because I've been using it so much, it's not doing it anymore. What you can do with these, you will see all the districts down here, but you can also do where it says location. This works much better on civil records than it does on the church records. So if I do Dublin in here, you see, you get two different things. Like you do county or registration district. The Dublin element only applies to records from about the early 1900s. It's an amalgamation of Dublin North and Dublin South. I don't have an exact date for that. But it also shows you, sorry, we'll do Dublin North just to show you. So you will see correct all Dublin North. If you look at those, they will be Dublin North. But if you also have an option to do County Dublin, which is a more interesting thing, and they seem to have done this correct the right way, you will see Balrotherry, Dublin North, Dublin South, Dunshaughlin, Naas, Rathdown, all districts that have a bit in County Dublin, which is correct. So that bit works correctly in civil records. Don't trust us for church records at the moment. One other thing I'll say with these, if you hit Rathdown, the search has no way of knowing which bit of Rathdown the record is for. That's not contained in the index. So you could have records in County Wicklow sneaking into the results. Similarly for Naas, you could have Kildare records, or Dunshaughlin, you could have Kildare, is that the other ones that are in that? Dublin North, South, and Balrotherry are all Dublin. That's the main, there are other things, so let me just check if there's other glitches or features in a similar thing. Sorry, I'll go back to church. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. If we go to church records and go Heffernan, and go no, Tralee, and you'll see our location selection box has come up again, and we'll hit Tralee for church location, which is actually a misnomer. We're really looking at the parish. And you will see, as well as Tralee, you will might see a record. I think it's in the marriages. I'll have to check here. I could have the date range wrong. There, we have one for Aberdorney. What you will see, oh, Oh, I think it's, hang on a second, sorry. Lixno. There, church records. See if I've done this right. Really, there's the last one. That's the guy I was looking for. You will see, even though I hit Lixno, we have one there that says area. Again, I would argue that should say parish. Yeah, that's the captions are backwards there, and that really, that should be probably diocese or county of Tralee, parish Tralee. But if you go in here, you will see the husband has an address as Lixnaw, and that's why it found it. So even though we've selected the filter, what I would have called the filter as the parish, it's looking for the location anywhere in the records, which is slightly strange behavior from a genealogical point of view, I think. Similar records, it picks up, you're basically looking through the entire transcript when you put in there, which means a lot of the time, these advanced options are not really relevant because it's searching everything anyway. So you can search for a sponsor, you can search for a witness, either parent. And the spouse feature does work on civil records. So you can put in the bride's surname and the husband's surname and find records and narrow it down. That does work. I'll keep moving because I want to get on to these are, hang on, these are the parishes that are included. Catholic parishes, the other ones are a bit simpler. Catholic parishes that are included on the current Irish genealogy site, as far as I can tell. This is the list that used to be present on the site, which I saved a copy of, being a great collector of things. And I also dug out for confirmation from the Wayback Machine, which you may have heard of. It's also known as the Internet Archive. But you will also see there's no St. Paul's on there. They seem to infer on the news site that they include all the Catholic records for Dublin City, which is not true. I tried to verify based on the NLI films, and I cannot find anything from St. Paul's. So I'm pretty sure they're following the previous list and just copied it forward. You will see a St. Mary. Oh, they have, oh, sorry, you will see our St. Mary, which is an issue selecting on the other list. And you'll also see a Mary Hatton, but there's nothing for St. Paul's. And there is no second page. I've double checked for a second page. There are equivalent lists for the other records that are on the old Irish genealogy website and seem to be the same list present on the new one. You can get at those on the Wayback Machine or make contact me in one of the Wednesday meetings or whatever, and I can pass the list on to you. This is a sort of a map. This is borrowed from our member, John Grenham, who has this on his website. If you're looking for maps of all kinds of things, have a look at his website. He also has great lists of what records are available by parish. You can see the city parishes are a bit cluttered, but these basically are the county parishes that are included on the Irish genealogy website. Some of the parishes included in the city and around the southeast of the county, there's a bit of amalgamation and splitting up going on. Or sorry, not amalgamation, more splitting up going on. So Dundrum is kind of a new parish. It's not a new chapel, but it was a new parish. Carranure is a new parish as well. Others in the city, like St. Agatha's, were as well. But these ones that are highlighted are included on the on Catholic records on Irish genealogy. They seem to have, my theory anyway, is they seem to have been excluding records that were on Roots Ireland, the Irish Family History Foundation website, because St. Paul's is included on that as transcripts only. And some of the other parishes down in the southeast of Dublin are included on that as well. So they seem to have been avoiding those. I don't know if that's right, but that's the theory. the census. The new subsite was created, and it has basically everything from the previous website. There has been a little bit of an update, which I'll come to. There's the corrections on there. I'll show you the corrections actually, because it's interesting. This is there. That's in my handout thing. They haven't included things that I was looking for. There's nothing for Dublin. There's a big chunk of Balrottery that's missing. I'll come to later on. Around Balrottery, sorry, it covers in as far as Dublin Airport, or where Dublin Airport is now, I should say. But that's a list of what the improvements are. They mention a big number of, sorry, I'm scrolling this. Yeah, there's the corrections today. It's a big number, but they also mention it's a massive collection. So I give you the link to that. Mostly it's a revised user interface and a couple of new interesting features. I'm guessing it's probably in preparation for the 1926. The older census is still there. You'll get a warning on it that you should be steering towards the new one. And there you can still get at the genealogy subsite, which used to link from the old census. So that is tied to Plotman's probate calendar, soldiers' wills, valuation books, and stuff like that. The user source links, in the same way, if they kill the old site, that's going to cause a problem for some. You know, especially things like Find My Past and Ancestry, or if you've saved links in your whatever you use to keep your family tree, that could fail. They don't seem to be doing a remapping. And I vaguely remember seeing something about it. They intended not providing one. You can see the links there at the bottom that's a link to a household on the old system. And that's the equivalent link on the new one. And there's nothing in common between the two of them. The first one is actually a link to a specific household, and that reference number, the 313753, is kind of a unique identifier to a household of X number of people. I can't remember. I think it's about 7. The new link is based on the search, which seems a bit loading the server up for something that's already done before to me. But that's the way they've done it. Census searches. So we'll show you that. That's the way the new form looks. It's a modern sort of look, so I admit that there are some new features, and some of the wildcard searches are better than they were before. There's allegedly some sort of variant searches on here, but I haven't seen much evidence of it. Give me 1 second now. We'll do where are we gone on this census? So if I'll do our Joe or O'Mara again, or Patrick O'Mara. Say, and we'll be brave and do all counties, and we'll leave off exact match. The first thing is, of course, to decide to be a bit slow. You will see a compact. You have a choice of 2 different views, which is the first thing. You can show all information, a bit like the old census, which shows a bit more. And there's also an option here, well, as well as the sort by and how many you want to see. There's also a card one, which is probably a bit more suitable for mobile phones. It is more mobile friendly. But you will see basically, and it goes by person, not by household. So if you want to see a household, you have to pick a person, and then you will see who's in the households. It's sort of the reverse approach to the previous one, where you came in at household level, and it never showed you one person at a time. It would show you a household. It is much better at names in Irish. I don't have a before and after example, but that's the sort of thing. The other aspect of it is you can link to a record, but it's basically the same as copying the URL up there. So I don't know why That's just lots of things do that. The other feature that comes up, that's a new feature that they've added, is you can download, which basically, if it'll do it, are you seeing that? Yeah, that's just transfer. Sends a CSV file, which is comma separated variable length, what it stands for, of what you're seeing on the screen. I have an example of that here. Sorry, let me just go back there. That's now it's in 2 bits. It's a big wide form is what you end up with. You can dump a CSV into Excel or OpenOffice or LibreOffice or any of those cousins, which is what I used here. You get everything that's on that. So you have the headers. Now, the only thing I did was I made them bold, but other than that, that's exactly as it was. It was a barracks I picked. So we're just seeing initials. Apparently the 26 doesn't use initials. You're going to see real names. So you have a unique person ID. I think it'd be a useful way of getting out a record, but haven't found a way of doing that. Census year, county, all the rest, all the usual things to be occupation will be previous occupation in this case. The one thing it doesn't, it does, sorry, it includes house number, which I would slightly dispute. That could be a numerator reference number, but it calls it house number. So we'll leave them with that. Let's see what I have next. There's on the census itself, there is another option here, which I will come down to. I need to go back to search. So you can choose that. That's like a breadcrumb. Go back through the list. You can go back to the different collections, go back to search the census records. I'll skip to 1901. There's an option there at the bottom, which did exist before. I think they may have added this. I don't remember seeing that before. Maybe I wasn't scrolling down far enough, where you can browse by location. So, for example, you can go into all the electoral districts and start looking for things. So we'll go, I'm looking for Blackrock. There's, that's Ballybrack, 1 sec. Blackrock. And that's my favorite spelling mistake. Somebody can't figure out how to spell Anglesey and had too many EAs. If you actually look at the form, it's quite clear. I don't know why they got that. That's a mistake that's carried forward. I happen to know that one. But again, if you hit a street within a DED or a townland within a DED, you get everyone. It's not split up into townlands the way the other one was, which I thought was kind of handy. So you could see, for example, for the first one, you would see Mullet and Murray. And you just get 2 entries listed, and you could then break down who was in it, rather than seeing every single person. I don't know. I prefer the original way, but that's a bit of a preference probably. The other thing that has got much better. Sorry, I know I'm jumping around here a little bit because I'm trying to get through as much of this as I can. If you go back to the search, this is one thing that the previous one was not good at. If you go and make it complicated for it. Or sorry, the other thing that's good at it is you can go wild with wildcards. So a lot of this sort of stuff, if you put them into the old system, it would tell you, it wouldn't even try it and would do too many results and show you nothing. This one will try. I've made it think about that table. We got a result now. How'd it come up with so few? I'm beginning to wonder about that now. What the one I was actually aiming for was, seems like a very small number.
Shane, you switched the surname and forename in the search, but it still gave you a result.
Oh, right. Sorry, I didn't even notice that. Well, we go back. Sorry, there's an option to go back to form there. Oh, very good. Well, that just shows you they've kept those. Thank you.
I think they have to keep those ones, Shane, because they have to transcribe it exactly. So if the people originally filled it out incorrectly,
Yeah,
they have to transcribe it that way.
exactly. Transcribe what you see, not what you think you see. That's what I was aiming to do. But the other one was useful. And it's worth trying. I keep forgetting to try that. But the other one would back out of a lot of searches like that and wouldn't even attempt them. It's a kind of a protection to stop you doing silly searches which overload the server. This one will do any of those. So what you could do before us, it would allow you to do a search for all Connells or all Murphys. But as soon as you put in an initial, it would say too many results, which is obviously not the case. You're narrowing down the results. But, sorry, I'm just going to make a note of that because it's one just to add to the list, just to have a look at. The one I was aiming for was, if we go Dublin, we go Sackville. Spell it properly. This used to back out and give you a silly number of searches results. I'm going to hit the maximum of 100. What you can also do that would fail before, that would give a relevant number of results. A lot of those didn't give results, but it's now giving a huge number because it's giving you every individual rather than every household. But we go back to form and we go avenue, this would explode the previous system because it would search for Sackville and it would search for avenue and attempt to give you both results and fail. This will give you correct 192 results, which is reasonable. This was the kind of search that it wasn't good with before. You can also do a download CSV of those, so you could list everybody on the street. If you hit that download list and drop that into your Excel or whatever, that will give you a list of everybody in Sackville Avenue, and you can then sort them and search them to your heart's content outside of this. I better keep moving. Where are we gone? Let me just go back to this browser. Additional tools. These are things to sort of top up your research on Irish genealogy or the census. There's a copy of the BMD index available on Family Search. So that'll give you up to 1958 for the 26 counties, or everything up to 1921 for all of Ireland. Births from about 29, include mother's maiden surname. That first image over to the right is an example. It's basically a copy of what's in the index books in the research room, wherever they've moved to now, I've forgotten. Previously of Townsend Street, Irish Life Centre, and Werburgh Street. That is the original one. There's copies of that same index on Find My Past and Ancestry. They provide a useful way of confirming that and also help with spotting problem records. I have a census place name search, which you see that there, it does the same sort of thing as the Sackville Avenue, but allows you to do a search just for place names. That will die when they kill the old site, probably, or it'll still be sort of useful. There's also a townland index and registration district map, which might help with your searches if you're not familiar with registration districts. Some additional tools, there's maps of the registration district. These are 3 alternatives. There's some on the Irish Genealogy Toolkit, which is Claire Santry's site. That's an extract from it over to the right. And there's the National Library of Ireland. Actually, I've got those images. Yeah, no, that's right. National Library of Ireland also have a PDF version that you can download. That's an extract of that there. Those are both, I think, probably based on the one that was still on the wall in the research room. At least I think that's where it came from. These seem to be approximate And the reason I know they're approximate is the rat down boundary is wrong. The other alternative is John Grenham's site. And he not only has the Poor Law Union / Superintendent Registrar's districts, he has broken it down by dispensary district. That's an extract of the same area from his site. I would use that one if I was going with any. I also have a tool for browsing the census. That browses the new version. So you can, for example, there are certain sections that haven't been indexed. They may have covered some of these in the update, but it allows you to scroll back through so you can see the census forms in order. So you'll see household 3, 2, 1, the building forms, the cover page, the whole way back. You could sometimes find little terraces and things that haven't been indexed correctly. Similar one for the GRO BMD records. That's for the new site. So for example, if you come across a record and you go into it and it has the wrong superintendent registrar's district at the top, there can be a mislinked record. You can then go off and look for it and effectively browse through the birth, marriage, deaths registers, looking for the correct one. That's more complex than we have time to do here. The other additional tool is on Family Search again. You need a free account with Family Search to get access to these. But the example here is, I was looking, actually, there was a couple of people looking for it, looking for Baldoyle. And that's a view of the image, microfilm image from Family Search. Now, it actually shows up under St. George, which is the parish, the city parish just below that. But there's 2 articles there that I have on my blog about how that was used to find these. But basically, it's a big block of townlands stretching in from Baldoyle to about Collinstown, and they're the electoral districts. And there's a census link conversion tool that I will show you. It doesn't quite work perfectly, I don't think. This is it here. These people are software developers, I think. But if you hit those, the last 2 work. So they will convert an old style census link to the new style census link. And they seem to work. The first one doesn't seem to link correctly. But I'll give it to you there anyway. You can try it out. Maybe they'll update. And that's it. So I will end that and say thank you very much.